We did change this workshop a little bit since we had it in Salt Lake City last month, so you can thank your colleagues if you like the way this turns out, because we looked at the evaluations and made some changes. And one of the things that people mentioned to us was that they didn't know if they could just sit and write when they were here, but they did want to leave with an outline. And I'm going to talk a little bit about outlining so that you can have some ideas when you have writing time about how to outline your proposal. That way when you get back to your office, at least you'll have something to hang your hat on. You'll have some words and maybe some paragraphs and ideas. So that's what we're going to spend the next 45 minutes on a little bit, and do a short writing exercise to get you writing. So as I said, we're going to be working today on the grant application. So that, as you already know, we went through that sheet, it's a long process to get a grant submitted. But we're working today, the next 2 days, on the application part. The submitting part and waiting, you talk to T after that, if you want. But after you submit your application, you will have to wait for feedback. And then you'll get your a letter back from HRSA, and it will have 3 things on it. You'll say that your application was accepted and there's no conditions, go forth and do good things. Or you'll get your application accepted with conditions, and a condition might be, make sure you have a full-time person. Maybe you only wrote a half-time person in, and they want a full-time person. You're going to have to reply back to HRSA how you're going to meet those conditions before your funds are released. And then perhaps your application won't be accepted. We don't think that will happen, and we hope it doesn't, but those are the 3 things that can happen when you receive your feedback from HRSA. So our objective today is to work on the grant application. We want to give you the tools so you'll be able to outline your partnership grant application. We want to help you understand the elements of it. So we're going to talk about the FOA and the forms and different things for your application. And we hope that you will be able to create an outline of all the sections by the time you leave here. So again, something to hang your hat on when you go home and you sit down and you do your writing. So we're going to do tools, elements, and narrative outline over the next 2 days. We want to be sure that you're familiar with the EMSC priorities. We've already mentioned 2 or 3 this morning, performance measures and the fan rep. We want to talk about the elements of the application, so we're going to spend a lot of time on the project narrative, but we're also going to talk about the budget and forms and the abstract. And then again, the narrative outline. There's 7 sections, and we're going to go through all of them in the next 2 days, giving you time to understand those sections, work with each other, and work with us, and have an outline when you leave. There's some common terms we're going to be using over the next 2 days. One is grant application, and that's the entire package that you submit to HRSA. That's a grant application. We're also going to be using the word proposal a lot. So it's one of several parts of the grant application, but that's what we're going to be concentrating on in the next 2 days because it includes the project narrative. And then there's the overall grant. That's the actual award that you get. Remember I said you'll get a letter from HRSA? That will be your award letter, accepted, accepted with conditions, or not accepted. But we're looking for the first 2 for everybody here. So we're talking today about the EMSC State Partnership Application. We want to get you on the road to success over the next 2 days. So we already mentioned the application is the whole package, but it's really important to think about it as a document that provides information so that others can make a decision or take action. So in this case, you submit your grant application and outside reviewers will read it. That's who you're trying to tell what you're going to do. So that will give the agency, HRSA, the funding to carry out your plan or deny funding. So that application is very, very important. That's what you're saying I'm going to do in my state for the next 4 years. So a successful application will convince the EMSC program that there is a problem that exists and that you can work on it and make it better. So you want to have good ideas for achieving each of the performance measures. So start thinking about the 10 performance measures. We have them on the board over here. Then that you have qualified personnel, that's all of you in the room and anyone else that you put on your application, qualified to carry out the work of the performance measures. And you want to tell people that in a well-written narrative. And that's what we're going to go over in the next 2 days. And the reason we gave you that sheet is that you need to submit that to the right place at the right time. All of that will come together and you should have a successful application. So how do we get there? Well, I think it's really important that we learn from each other. We've already heard in the room that some people are very new to their job and some people have been around for quite a while. And so we asked people, when we sent you a needs assessment, what will be your role in regard to writing this year's EMSC grant? Looks like most of you, 84% are going to be the primary author. So in this room are mostly the primary authors for the EMSC proposal. So help each other out and learn from each other. Someone's going to be assisting, and there's someone who's not going to be writing any sections, but they're taking the information back to their office. And then we wanted to know how people would classify their experience. Well, look at this. Over 80%, or just about 80% of folks have some sort of experience. About 20% are an intermediate beginner when it comes to writing a partnership proposal, advanced beginner, and some advanced. 30% of you are advanced. So again, there's a lot of experience in this room. We want to be sure that you use each other and help each other. And then how about your general writing skills? Well, again, most of you have said you're very comfortable with your general writing skills. And that's really important if you're going to be writing a proposal. So again, we have a lot of experience in the room, and I hope we all speak up and use each other's experience. So we have a good base to start with. We have people who have not done it before to people with many years of experience. So again, let's help each other. So how do we get there? How do we get a really good proposal or application? Well, you have to pay attention to preparing your entire grant application, but especially the narrative. But you really want to pay very, very good attention. As I understand it, this is going to go to outside reviewers, so there'll be people who understand EMSC and maybe people who don't understand EMSC. So you're putting this application forward saying, hey, give me money to work in my state. You want it to look very nice. You don't want it to be unorganized. You want it to be a really good application. So pay attention starting now to preparing especially your narrative. So the goal of any narrative, whether you're writing an EMSC proposal or a different proposal, is to paint a picture in the reviewer's mind of how you intend to change the world for the better. That's really global, and what you want to do with the EMSC FOA is how do you intend to improve the care of children and their families through your work on the performance measures. That is what you want to do with your EMSC grant narrative. So some strategies to have a great application. Read the FOA, and Andrea's going to speak about that, and we're going to go over what's in the funding opportunity announcement. That is your guideline. That is what you want to use, and it tells you what the program wants from you. Read it again, and read it again, underline it, and know where everything is. Organize and prepare. You have 90 days to really get going, and you need to start now. We found from talking to several people at the last workshop and from our work on grants, try to set aside a block of uninterrupted time. Tome, you've written many grants. What are some of the strategies you use? Any of them here, or what else would you suggest for people?
I don't know, you have one there that says not to do, and I do it all the time.
You don't cut and paste from previous applications?
I do.
You do?
I do. And not only my application, especially when it's painting the background, even our maternal child walk grant, because there's valuable information in that.
You can. The reason I put that here, and we've talked about this, is when we've looked at why some people had trouble with their grant applications when they cut and paste, they didn't always pay attention and they had the wrong people's names on it from before. They had years, yes, they had years that didn't match. So I usually say to people, don't just cut and paste and go, here it is. So, but other people have done it successfully. So again, everyone has a different strategy. So I usually start with don't cut and paste from previous applications, but again, you do want to proofread. So that's work for people. I saw Janet shake her head.
Yeah, proofread. proofread.
And have somebody who doesn't know what it is that you do.
Yes, yes. Read it.
I have one other suggestion. Lock the door and buy lots of chocolate.
Lock the door and buy lots of chocolate. Can we add coffee to that?
Yes.
Yes, not what's on my list.
I think that uninterrupted writing time is very, very important. And then writing an initial draft without worrying about grammar. You just want to get something down sometimes. You can sit there and have writer's block and not get anywhere. So sometimes just getting it out and getting started is important too. Does anyone else have strategies that they've used? Katrina?
Well, I just tear apart that FOA and just start writing notes on the side as to who would do good letters of support. And I really look at the review criteria.
Yeah.
That, and I thank HRSA, whoever did it this time. I love when you put, these are the criteria you need in your narrative and the sections, and here's how it matches to the review criteria. So I now know that in section X, Y, or Z, that's going to be reviewed under the need section. And I think that's an excellent tool that they provided this time.
Okay, great. Rhonda?
I give my application to somebody that doesn't know anything about what I do.
Okay.
And with the scoring sheet, and let them read and score like an outside person who would score. So
Excellent.
they can see what I think is intuitive, that anybody would understand, that they can say, I didn't get this at all.
Yeah, no, that's really important. That can be really hard to do because you're giving something to someone that you spent a lot of time on, and then you hear that. It's hard not to take it personally. So separate yourself and just say, someone is giving me this information so I can have a great application. And it is important to someone who doesn't know the program. So they can say, you might end up using acronyms that people don't even understand that we're so used to. So that's a great idea too. Use your colleagues in your office. Some people say they use their spouses. So, you just have to find someone who can help you out like that. Those are all great suggestions. Ask a colleague or consultant to critically evaluate the draft is really great. Maybe have a grant writing team, and you're going to have to write 4 to 6 drafts, maybe more, because you'll find as you go through and read it, you'll find things. So again, organize and prepare, and be prepared to write several drafts and get feedback from people. I think it's really important to use the active voice. Remember, reviewers might read 2 or 3 applications. If you use the active voice, you can make your narrative read really strong, really tight. So I like the active voice because it's more direct and vigorous. I will always remember my first grant writing workshop versus my first grant writing workshop will always be remembered by me. If you use the active voice and say, we will conduct, we will develop, and be very strong on that, I think it will help you write a little clearer, and it also just gives action already to your narrative. So I really like the active voice.
Lenore, is the Resource Center or program officers, in the past, they would allow you to send your draft in? Is that, so, stories on that?
T or Yolanda, how are you guys going to handle proposals? Is there a staff willing to read them before they're submitted?
The type of technical assistance is we can provide feedback. It's a little bit different than before when seeking feedback from the NRC. So, but the difference is there's 59 grants, everyone's eligible. So it's not like we're creating a competition. Whatever we would share with you, we naturally would have to share it with all the grantees. So if you called me, or you called Yolanda, or you called Jocelyn for any type of technical assistance, our role would be to gather that information and shoot it out to all the grantees so that everyone gets it. Because we don't have an audience, we don't have potential applicants beyond the 59 eligible. So that makes sense. It's not a competition where someone else within the state would be competing and wouldn't be able to access the same information.
Okay, I heard 2 things from UT, and then we have a question from, go ahead.
So is that a resource that NEDARC or NRC can provide to the states?
NEDARC cannot provide reading applications. We can look at sections, we can help people here and there, but we cannot read a whole application. And I don't think the NRC is doing that this year. I don't want to.
No, but for specialized areas like for hospital, understanding the hospital measures, thinking of strategies, looking at the Diana, they're looking at NRC as topical areas, so that if we knew what area we were needing as more assistance on, more ideas about, we could probably tap you with those resources. If you're talking about data, NEDARC
If you want to talk about your data collection efforts, certainly call your NEDARC representative. But in the past, NRC did read entire applications. I believe that is no longer occurring. I want to make sure. Okay. So if you have questions on the FOA and your application, start with your HRSA person, and then they will direct you to the specific people you need to go to. I also heard from T that you aren't in competition with anyone. There is enough funding for everybody if you write a good, clear narrative and submit your application. Is that correct?
Yes. The only thing to keep in mind is that when the reviewers are looking at the application, they're looking at funding it or not funding it. They're not actually scoring it. You know, is it realistic? Same as any other review. So they're not going to come back and say this scored a 60 and thus do not award. Because it scored a 60, keep in mind these areas that may be weak here. When it comes back to the program for consideration.
And that's where you might give conditions when you write a letter based on what the reviewers have said.
Yes. But before it comes to us, there's many layers in between us. We're not the deciding factor.
You want the deciders? No. Okay. So the reviewers are very important to keep in mind. That's also who you're writing for. Don?
Just about the reviewers, are they technical people, or, I mean, should you write to a certain grade level? I mean, what should your approach? Because usually when you write, I know they tell us when I present to the public right at 11th grade level. So, you know, what are people familiar with medical aspects of what we do or stuff like that?
T?
When there's a search, those are the types of individuals we're looking for, but we do not have complete control over the type of reviewers that might end up in the pool.
Okay.
So what we have tried to do in the past, there's some in the room that can probably attest, but I don't know if they want to, is have someone involved in the review process that can educate them and explain this is what they actually need. Because you will have people that are completely don't know the program, period. So,
say a business person might be in with a nurse or something like that.
Yeah, we can suggest names to DIR, people in the EMSC field, so don't worry.
So write in general, kind of broad, and then bring down your definition to a good one line, here's what, specifics.
Yes.
But be broad.
Be as clear. Keep in mind you're talking to the general public. You're not talking to people that even know what EMSC stands for. And by the way, if you Google EMSC, it means many things.
Sure. So I think that's good advice. Write as if you're talking to the general public.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll go through each section. So hopefully by writing out your needs assessment and different things, you'll bring the reviewer to your method section and your work plan. But right for the general audience, that's great. Any other tips or strategies people have that they want to share? Well, we've talked about a lot of things, and you can see that many of you already do this. So this is also from your needs assessment. I think folks over here already said proofread. Proofreading is important. Spelling errors are also important, but spell check can't find everything. And that's why at some point you need to print out your application and you need to read it in hard copy. Because even though you've done spell check will accept words that's not how you want them written. So check for spelling errors and conduct a grammar check. And then revise and edit your draft, and again, print it out. I know we think, oh, I want to save paper, but there is nothing like seeing it on a piece of paper and reading it rather than on the screen that can really help you put your application together. Write a first draft. Many of you already do that, almost 80%. Many of you research and gather information about your topic, and that's, again, part of your preparation. What have you already done for each performance measure? You can do what Katrina said, write on the margins as you read through your FOA. Really use your FOA to guide your work. Many of you already asked a colleague to read your drafts, and about 50% of you allow enough time for the writing process for review and revisions. I'd like to see that move up. Really, once you get something back from a colleague, you want to give them a week or two. They're just as busy as you are and you get it back. You need time to get your second and third draft going. You're going to have people who don't understand the program reading your narrative. You want clear and concise writing. That takes time. Please don't underestimate how much time this can take for you to get this done and to have a really great application. And one of the ways to really have a great application is to use clear writing, and that's a paragraph. That's the building block of writing, is a very great paragraph. We're going to talk about that right now. Each paragraph, when you're writing or when you're outlining here in the next 2 days, you always want a topic sentence. Tell the person what you're about to talk about. It introduces the main idea of the paragraph and what they're next going to read. Then you have supporting sentences, usually 2, 3, or 4, that will support what you said, and then you have a closing sentence. You're often restating the idea of the paragraph in different words, bringing the reviewer or the reader back to what they just read. And then you go on to the next paragraph. It sounds very simple, and it is, but it can take time to write really good paragraphs. So here's an example I found online that I've always liked. Here's a topic sentence. There are 3 reasons why Canada is one of the best countries in the world. What are the next few sentences going to be about after you read that sentence? 3 reasons. That's right. So you're already telling the reviewer what they're going to hear. There are 3 reasons why Delaware has X. You're telling people what they're going to read already. You're bringing them along. So there's 3 reasons why Canada is one of the best countries in the world. First, it has an excellent healthcare system. All Canadians have access to medical services at a reasonable price. Second, it has a high standard of education. Students are taught by well-trained teachers and encouraged to continue studying. Third, or finally, Canada's cities are clean and efficiently managed. They have many parks and lots of spaces for people to live in. And then the person wants to close that. They've already told you that's 3 reasons why they think Canada's a great place. They told you the 3, and then they say, as a result, Canada is a desirable place to live. They told you what they're going to tell you, they told you, and they told you again, 3 different ways. They brought you right back. That's each paragraph in your application is how you want that to be. Sounds very simple. So how do you do it? You always think carefully about what you're going to write. What question am I going to answer with this paragraph? And that's your topic sentence. Canada is one of the best places in the world to live. Then after I write that, or you write that, list the things you know and just use short words or phrases. Why is that? Why is it hard for EMTs to reach mountainous areas? Write those things down that you want to do. And then use your short list of words to create sentences. And then put your sentences in order, and then create a good topic and closing sentence. And you'll have a great paragraph to bring you through your whole application. 2 or 3 paragraphs in each section can get you right through. So here's an example for NEATARC. We're in a competitive cycle, and we recently had to submit our competitive renewal. So I had to think about some things. I worked with Mike Ely and Mike Dean and Sally Jo Zuspan on our application. We had to think about things in our opening paragraph for NEATARC, so I just wrote some stuff down. Here's some things. I took these short words, say established 1995. The National EMSC Data Analysis Resource Center was established in 1995. So from the short words, I put a sentence. Training and workshops. NEATARC also provides formal workshops and instruction in EMSC-related topics, including statistics, data collection, survey design, quality improvement, and data acquisition. So from those short words, I made a sentence. I put them in a order. Think about what comes first after the topic sentence, second, third, and then your closing sentence. Here's how I ordered it. So the National Analysis Resource Center was established in 1995. That was my topic sentence. Here's some supporting sentence. It's funded by the primary purpose. Here's what we provide by telephone, email, and in person. We provide workshops. I took all of that stuff. And then here's my closing sentence for the reviewer. This proposal describes how NEATARC will support states and territories in the collection, analysis, and utilization of data for the EMSC state partnership performance measures to advance the delivery of quality pediatric emergency care. Then you go on to the next paragraph and the next one. So again, think in short sentences. Think of your topic sentence and your closing sentences and the supporting sentences in between. And start to just outline that for every section. So if you can leave here with some topic sentences and some short words underneath, when you get back to your office, you'll be able to keep filling it out. So let's try it. Use the handout in your notebook or on the jump drive. So in your notebook here, it's on page 139. Looks like this. So if you want to handwrite or if you want to do it electronically on your laptop, it's also on the thumb drive. Has everybody found that? Page 139 in your notebook or on the thumb drive?
And what would it be listed under the thumb drive as?
Blank page, paragraph worksheet.
Blank page paragraph worksheet?
I don't know.
Yes, one paragraph.
Thank you.
I was gonna pull it out.
Okay.
If they want to see one.
It looks like this. I think it's going to look like this. Has everyone found it? I'm going to pull it up. Has everyone found it either on page 139?
Ooh, look at that.
Blank paragraph worksheet.
It's so top document.
Thank you, Andrea. So one of the sections you'll be writing today or tomorrow, working on, is called Resolution of Challenges. And Craig's going to talk about that more tomorrow. But everybody faces challenges in working in their state and in getting their EMSC program up and running and continuing to run as they work on performance measures. So, how do I get back? I'm sorry, Andrea, how do I get back to my slides? Sorry about that. Thank you. I was thinking that if one way to get started, you have two options. You can either think about an opening paragraph to describe your state, or if you wanted to talk about challenges and experienced opportunities in the implementation of EMSC performance measures, you could be working on either one. So this is the resolution of challenges, and this is taken right from the FOA. So this is about the 6th or 7th part of the narrative. Discuss challenges that are likely to be encountered in designing and implementing the activities described in the work plan and approaches that will be used to resolve such challenges. It's very important that you talk about resolving them. Everybody has challenges, but how will you resolve them? And you want the reviewers to understand that you know there are problems, but that you're aware of them and you have qualified personnel who can overcome those and implement performance measures. So we talked about this. This is what we'll be working on right now. So I would suggest we take a few minutes. I want folks to write 5 things about your state using 2 to 3 words, using the following topic sentence, or if you have a different sentence of your choice to be working on. Your state EMSC program has faced challenges and experienced opportunities in the implementation of the EMSC performance measures. So if you want to use that as a topic sentence or one of your own, write some short things underneath that to get your mind going and get writing about that. And we'll check in with folks in a few minutes. If I was thinking about resolution of challenges, here's some things I might think of perhaps for Utah, or these might be challenges that you face. You have a very rural state, you don't have a tertiary hospital, you have travel limitations, scheduling the advisory committee. Any of these could be examples of of challenges you might face in your state. So let's start by writing down some words using this first part right here. Write 5 things about your state. I'll check back in 5 minutes with folks. Poor relationship between EMS Bureau and agencies. Poor relationship between EMS Bureau and agencies. Rules and regulations. Poor relationship between EMS Bureau and EMS agencies. What's one other example? Elizabeth?
I did limited pediatric support.
Limited pediatric support.
Revolving leadership door.
Revolving leadership door. Gayatri? Large indigenous native population. So those are all examples of some challenges. Let's take that one, rules and regulations. How can we make that into a sentence? Debbie, what do you think your next step might be if you wanted to put that into a sentence? Nebraska's rules and regulations make it blah, blah, blah. What would be a way? How would you take that rules and regulations and maybe make that into a sentence? What is it about those rules and regulations?
Lengthy process.
It's a lengthy process. The rules and regulations make it a lengthy process to achieve something. I mean, you want to take that now and put that into a sentence to let the reviewer know how those rules and regulations may be problematic. So that would be your next step on that. What was, how about yours? How would you make that into a sentence? What was the short words that you had? What were the longer words that you had?
Poor relationship between the Bureau and
At times, poor relationships between the EMS Bureau and EMS agencies makes it problematic to collect needs assessment data. Something like that that might be a way to take your short words and make those into a sentence. So do you guys, any thoughts on using short words to get those into sentences?
My frustration lies, and this is my first time writing a grant like this. My frustration lies with, we know these are issues like the red tape and things like that, but I guess putting that into a grant form because you're a director, your boss, you're a deputy commissioner, you're a director over this, or your agency, if you're with the state regulatory agency, is going to read this. You know?
Yeah, so I think that's true, and I think that's very important to keep in mind. But there are ways to write it that you're aware, you want the reviewer to be aware, that perhaps these poor relationships may make it hard to collect data. Then your next paragraph might be, due to this, we're going to have a public education campaign about the importance of collecting data. So that's how you would resolve it. But I think that's true, and that's something for every state and every person would have to balance as they wrote it. But again, you don't want a reviewer to think, well, they haven't said anything about X, and we all know that states have this. So if you find that balance, you can work with T and Yolanda and your program, program person. Hopefully your director would help you with that.
Just a suggestion, you could actually rephrase it, just get away from the word for. Try to be a little bit more politically correct and think about all the people along the way that might see it, but still be able to convey the charge. So maybe another word instead of for.
Yeah. You definitely want to just start it out like that, get it down, and then work with someone to help you with that and use different wording. A fractured relationship, I don't know, you could find ways, so yeah. But those are all good things to think about. You want to keep just stretching those words into a sentence. So if you maybe scheduling advisory committee, we were unable to hold 4 in-person EMSC advisory committee meetings due to scheduling conflicts and a limited travel budget. Whatever that is, just take those and start to make those into sentences. And then organize them. Think about what comes first. You know, after your topic sentence, then second, third, fourth, and fifth, and so on. And then closing sentence. And here's an example. Perhaps your first paragraph is about the 5 challenges that we face. Despite these challenges, our state has continued to make progress toward achieving the performance measure targets. In the following paragraphs, we will explain our plan to overcome these challenges. So again, you're setting the reviewer up to follow through with you. If you have these challenges, make sure you talk about how you're going to work to resolve them or what your ideas are to resolve them. And then, so this might be a worksheet that you might want to use as you get started. Some people have said they've never written a grant. This might be a way to get you going on that. So sometimes when you have writer's block and you're back in your office, try to think of working on it this way. And you might want to use this in the next 2 days as we go forward because you are going to have time to outline your narrative. So this might be something that you can use, or you might have another way that you like to work and use. So please do that. But again, hopefully you'll leave here with some words written down to keep you going when you get back to your office. So that's one way to work on that. So remember to read and follow the program funding opportunity announcement, the FOA. Make performance measures the #1 priority in your narrative for you to be successful. I say don't cut and paste from previous applications. Other people say they do that. So again, what works for you, please do it. But make sure you write clearly and succinctly. Use the active voice. We will conduct. Make sure that you lead the reviewer right along. Give yourself, and if you have a team, time to write several drafts. But mostly and most important, submit a complete and professional application. That's what the reviewer is going to see. You don't want to leave things out and have them wonder where that is. You want to submit a complete and professional application. Here's some resources. This is a really great book. Actually, it might have been updated now. I have 1996, I think, but it's a successful grant writing, strategies for health and human service professionals. That's a great book. You can find it on Amazon. Real Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. It's a really great book to look at for general writing. Your FOA is a resource, but those are just examples. Again, if you get stuck as you're writing, take a look at these. There's just words that commonly need correction. There's examples of verbs to use. As Steve pointed out, you might not want to use the word for. So there's just some ways that you can write different things that might help you if you get writer's block when you get back to your office. So I think that those can be helpful also. More verbs, how to use other words. So just take a look at those. Declare, describe, we examined, we expressed. Just make sure first person active voice when you're writing.